On December 27, 1943, at Hill 730 near San Pietro and in Fine in Italy, an oberger from the German 15th Panzer Grenadier Division scribbled his last journal entry. American forces discovered it 3 days later as they advanced through the area. The Americans' combat tactics differed significantly from those of British or Russian troops. They deployed machine guns in every house and corner. Their automatic weapons kept firing relentlessly, overwhelming German defenses. From his bunker's narrow slit, this soldier had faced 3 such assaults by American infantrymen armed with Thompson submachine guns, which contradicted traditional German tactical doctrine. The distinctive weapon, recognizable for its drum magazine and rapid rate of fire, dramatically altered close combat scenarios in ways the Germans hadn't anticipated. Training in marksmanship, controlled firing, and ammunition conservation contrasted sharply with the Americans' apparent strategy of spraying bullets indiscriminately. The 1st Battalion of the U.S. Army's 143rd Infantry Regiment had recently captured San Pietro after 6 days of intense street fighting. Of the original 280 German defenders, only 46 were taken prisoner. The rest perished or were overwhelmed by American tactics and weaponry. The combination of American infantry doctrine and the Thompson submachine gun posed a formidable challenge to German soldiers' understanding of small unit warfare in confined urban environments. Across Italy and later in Normandy, German forces would confront not just superior firepower, but also an entirely new approach to combat tactics enabled by mass production capabilities for advanced automatic weapons. In the 1920s, when reports about the Thompson submachine gun first reached Germany, it was dismissed as a costly novelty unsuitable for military use due to its high price tag of $200, equivalent to over $3,000 today, excessive ammunition consumption, and complex manufacturing process. The German MP-18 could be produced at a fraction of these costs. Observers reported that while the weapon was ideal for criminal or police work, it was impractical for regular infantry due to its prohibitive expense. This assessment would ultimately prove erroneous. By 1943, American factories were churning out Thompson submachine guns at record-breaking speeds. Companies such as Auto Ordnance Corporation and Savage Arms had successfully adapted John T. Thompson's intricate design for mass production. In 1942 alone, production hit around 500,000 units, with the simplified Mohn and M1A variants reaching a total of 1,387,134 by the end of World War II. While German doctrine recommended 1 or 2 submachine guns per squad, American forces were equipping entire companies with these weapons in unprecedented numbers. In 1940, the Wehrmacht's infantry school maintained that the submachine gun was a specialized weapon for assault pioneers and paratroopers, arguing that regular infantrymen needed rifles for accurate, disciplined fire. This policy, rooted in Germany's resource constraints, left German troops psychologically unprepared to face the torrent of automatic fire they encountered later. The first significant encounters between American units armed with Thompsons and German forces occurred during Operation Torch in November 1942. The 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment and elements of the U.S. Second Corps landed with M1A Thompson submachine guns as standard equipment for non-commissioned officers and select personnel, a ratio that stunned German intelligence. A report from January 1943 by a German officer in Tunisia noted that during fighting at Kasserine Pass, while they initially drove back American forces using conventional tactics when the Americans established defensive positions, the volume of automatic fire was unlike anything seen on the Eastern Front. It seemed like every other soldier had a machine pistol, The Thompson's psychological impact outstripped its tactical significance in these early battles. German soldiers trained to estimate enemy ammunition supplies based on round counts were bewildered by the American willingness to expend thousands of rounds in brief engagements. In one instance, an American platoon might fire more ammunition in 5 minutes than what a German company was allocated for an entire day of combat. Interrogations of German prisoners captured at Gafsa consistently revealed their shock at the American use of automatic weapons as primary rather than support weapons. They had been taught to conserve ammunition and only use automatic weapons sparingly. The Italian campaign from September 1943 to May 1945 served as a proving ground for the Thompson, further educating German forces about American firepower doctrine. The rugged terrain, ancient villages, and fortified positions of the Gustav Line seemed to favor German defenders, leading traditional military thinking to suggest that attackers needed a 3-to-1 numerical advantage to succeed. The Thompson submachine gun altered this equation. During the Rapido River crossing in January 1944, German defenders from the 15th Panzer Division faced American assault boats manned by soldiers armed with Thompsons providing suppressive fire. Surviving Germans noted that Americans approached the riverbank firing continuously without aiming individually, producing a relentless barrage of bullets that rendered defensive positions nearly impossible to hold. Despite their MG-42 machine guns offering superior rates of fire, German squads were equipped with only one such weapon per unit. In contrast, American forces concentrated automatic firepower at crucial points. The 4 battles around Monte Cassino from January to May 1944 offered German troops a thorough education in the employment of American automatic weapons. The elite 1st Fallschirmjäger Division defended the monastery and its surrounding heights against repeated Allied assaults. Veterans who had fought in Crete and on the Eastern Front reported that Americans advanced using a consistent method they found difficult to counter, moving under cover of sustained automatic fire, with soldiers firing bursts as they moved, targeting any potential enemy positions regardless of occupation. At Monte Cassino, the effectiveness of the Thompson submachine gun in urban combat was evident. The weapon's 45 ACP round, though having limited range, offered substantial stopping power at close quarters. Its verified specifications included a rate of fire of approximately 600 to 700 rounds per minute for the M1A1 model, and a muzzle velocity of 920 feet per second, creating a wall of lead at typical engagement distances under 50 yards. The Anzio landings in January 1944 showcased American capability to support firepower-intensive tactics. The beachhead, surrounded by German forces for 4 months, became an experimental ground for automatic weapons strategies. One particularly dramatic documented account involved a British soldier armed with a Thompson who killed 19 German soldiers before succumbing at his position. This feat was recovered and recorded by Captain Frank Grisma of the British 1st Division, Commonwealth Forces. Both the British 1st Division and U.S. 3rd Infantry Division extensively utilized Thompson submachine guns during static beachhead engagements. When German forces launched counterattacks against the beachhead, they encountered defensive positions where Thompsons had been distributed from company weapon pools. The 3rd Infantry Division, defending the Mussolini Canal sector, requisitioned additional Thompson submachine guns from replacement depots. A German soldier from the Hermann Göring Division recounted an infiltration attempt on February 16, 1944, stating his unit managed to approach American positions within 30 meters before being detected. When the Americans opened fire, it was devastating, multiple individual automatic weapons firing simultaneously rather than measured bursts of machine gun fire. Within 2 minutes, half of the company had been decimated. When American troops landed in Normandy on June 6, 1944, they encountered German defenders who faced assault forces armed with Thompson submachine guns from the outset. Both the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions dropped behind enemy lines, equipped with M1A and M1928A models of Thompsons, which were allocated to squad leaders, assistant squad leaders, and scouts. The Rangers' assaulting point Du Hoc specifically carried these weapons for clearing bunkers. Heinrich Sevelat, known as the Beast of Omaha, a German machine gunner who survived the battle, later recounted in interviews how American forces used the Thompsons effectively during their assault. Once the Americans reached the sea wall and engaged in close combat, the dynamics shifted dramatically. The short automatic weapons, dubbed Chicago typewriters by Germans, allowed American soldiers to move while firing simultaneously. This approach created a high volume of fire rather than precise shots, which proved highly effective in the confined spaces of Normandy's bocage country. American tactics included marching fire, advancing and suppressing enemy positions with continuous gunfire, which was instrumental in overcoming German defenses. Carl H. Cartledge Jr., from the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, noted that German field hospitals were filled with casualties inflicted by Thompson wounds. However, there is no definitive evidence for a specific quote about Germans fearing the terrible Thompson gun. German veterans who had experienced Soviet human wave attacks on the Eastern Front, where automatic weapons were scarce, found themselves ill-prepared to face American soldiers armed individually with submachine guns. Following the Battle of Kärnten, German reports detailed that American forces did not stop advancing before firing. Instead, they fired continuously while moving forward, a tactic unmatched by their bolt-action rifles. The technical specifications of the Thompson verified its impact on infantry combat. Rate of fire ranging from 600 to 800 rounds per minute, depending on model. Magazine capacities included 20 or 30-round box magazines, and occasionally used 50 or 100-round drum magazines. Muzzle velocity at 920 to 935 feet per second. Effective range of approximately 50 yards. Weight ranging from 10.45 pounds for the M1928 Aeon model to 10.8 pounds for the M1 Aeon, with an overall length of around 31.75 inches. In comparison, the standard German Mauser Kar-98,000 rifle had a rate of fire of only 15 rounds per minute, a magazine capacity of 5 rounds, and an effective range of about 500 meters when using iron sights. Its weight was roughly 8.8 pounds. On paper, the German rifle excelled in terms of range and accuracy. However, in the tight quarters combat scene in Italy and Normandy, these attributes were irrelevant. Combat studies revealed that 90% of infantry engagements occurred within 100 meters. Within this distance, the Thompson submachine gun reigned supreme. Analysis of captured Thompson submachine guns revealed their intricate design and advanced manufacturing techniques. These weapons featured precision-machined components that were beyond the capabilities of wartime German mass production facilities. The original Thompson contained over 100 individual parts with strict tolerance requirements, while even the simplified M1 Aeon version retained complex manufacturing demands that only American industry could meet consistently. German officers found it perplexing how the Americans managed to sustain such large-scale operations involving Thompsons logistically. These weapons consumed ammunition at rates that would have quickly depleted German supply chains. A typical German infantry regiment in 1944 received approximately 50,000 rounds of small arms ammunition per week. In contrast, American forces equipped with Thompsons could expend the same amount within a single day of intense combat. During World War II, the United States produced around 47 billion rounds of small arms ammunition, with significant quantities being for the 45 ACP caliber used by Thompson submachine guns and M1911 pistols. German logistics officers calculated that each burst from a Thompson cost more in ammunition value than a German soldier's daily pay. Yet American troops fired thousands of such bursts every day without hesitation. This vast difference in resource allocation compelled different tactical approaches for both sides. The distinctive sound of the Thompson became a psychological weapon, with its rapid discharge of 45 caliber rounds creating a deeper and more resonant impact compared to German 9 weapons. German soldiers often reported being able to identify American units based solely on the sound of gunfire. Moreover, the appearance of the Thompson submachine gun added to its psychological effect. When using drum magazines, it had a gangster-like aesthetic that German propaganda ridiculed, but which instilled fear among frontline troops. The weapon's weight and solid construction contrasted starkly with the stamped metal German M40, emphasizing American industrial superiority even at close inspection. The introduction of the Thompson submachine gun transformed small unit tactics in American squads, though not as commonly portrayed. Despite widespread belief, standard U.S. Army rifle squads did not receive Thompsons on a regular basis. Rather, starting June 30, 1944, company headquarters kept weapon pools that included 6 M1A1 Thompsons, 6 carbines, and 5 bazookas for allocation at the discretion of commanders. These weapons were usually assigned to scouts and point men. Non-commissioned officers leading patrols, soldiers involved in clearing buildings, and troops engaged in nighttime operations received submachine guns. Marine Corps units adopted these firearms more extensively. Squad leaders were authorized to use them beginning July 1942. Marine parachute units supplied both squad leaders and assistant squad leaders with submachine guns, achieving the highest concentration within standard infantry units. This flexible distribution system meant German forces could never predict where Thompson fire would emerge. Unlike the predictable deployment of German squad automatic weapons, American Thompsons appeared wherever close combat was anticipated. During battles for Aachen in October 1944 and subsequent Rhineland cities, the dominance of the Thompson in urban warfare became evident. With a rear division consisting of the 246th Volksgrenadier Division, German defenders in Aachen employed tactics to defend cities from their peripheries, falling back through successive positions. American tactics, facilitated by the Thompson, involved aggressive penetration into built-up areas. Reports from German forces indicated that Americans entered buildings through walls, floors, and ceilings rather than doors or windows, a strategy impossible with bolt-action rifles. Soldiers would barrage entire rooms through doorways before entering, suppressing defenders before clear targets emerged. This method of room clearing maximized the Thompson's advantages. The Battle of Hürtgen Forest in September 1944 and February 1945 presented conditions that should have neutralized the Thompson's strengths. Dense forests, limited visibility, and rough terrain seemed to favor German defenders with longer-range weapons. Despite the challenges, the Thompson remained versatile under these circumstances. U.S. troops adjusted their tactics for woodland engagements. They employed Thompson submachine guns to spray at treetop level, triggering explosions of German wooden-handled grenades and mines lodged in branches. The 45 caliber bullets used with the Thompson proved advantageous in forest battles, due to their ability to penetrate thick underbrush that smaller rounds would deflect off. Soldiers advanced in a line while maintaining constant fire to establish barriers of lead through the dense foliage. Nevertheless, Hurtgun Forest highlighted certain drawbacks of the Thompson. Its limited effective range meant German snipers and machine gunners positioned at greater distances could engage American forces before the Thompson could effectively counteract them. Some U.S. units found captured German weapons more suitable for specific forest combat scenarios, particularly when ammunition resupply was difficult in the thick terrain. The woodland battles showed that while the Thompson excelled in close-quarters combat, it couldn't replace rifles entirely. American military doctrine adapted to integrate the shock power of the Thompson with the range and sustained fire of rifles and BARS, developing combined arms tactics at the squad level. During the Battle of the Bulge in December 1944, German forces launched their final major offensive on the Western Front. Initial success was partly due to achieving surprise, but as American resistance grew stronger, the Thompson once again became crucial in close combat. The defense of Bostonia's perimeter showcased the weapon's effectiveness in defensive operations. Paratroopers from the 101st Airborne Division held their positions against overwhelming odds. Thompson submachine guns provided final protective fires. German assaults, channeled by terrain into kill zones, faced concentrated automatic weapons fire from individual soldiers rather than just crew-served weaponry. Joachim Peiper's Kampfgruppe encountered American infantry armed with Thompsons at Stoumont and other critical points during the offensive. While German tanks held dominance at longer ranges, U.S. troops equipped with Thompsons infiltrated to close quarters where tank advantages were diminished. The intense volume of fire from defensive positions hindered German infantry support for their armor. The Rhine crossings in March 1945 exemplified American automatic weapons doctrine at its pinnacle. Engineers crossing in assault boats carried Thompson submachine guns almost exclusively, laying down suppressive fire that was described by German observers as unprecedented in intensity. At Remagen, American forces seized the Ludendorff Bridge intact. Engineers and infantrymen, equipped with Thompson submachine guns, charged across under intense enemy fire, their automatic weapons neutralizing German positions on the eastern bank. The Germans' attempts to destroy the bridge were thwarted by the sheer volume of return fire from individual soldiers. German commanders reported to higher headquarters that American forces had fired more ammunition in a single engagement than entire German units received over an entire week. It appeared as if every soldier was armed with automatic weapons, which overwhelmed the German defenders who used bolt-action rifles. In Europe, German troops struggled with the Thompson's effectiveness. However, Japanese forces in the Pacific provided further validation of the weapon's impact. Reports from German military observers stationed with Japanese forces detailed American tactics. In 1944, German attaches witnessed Marine operations and reported that each squad had more automatic firepower than an entire Japanese platoon. Continuous fire neutralized enemy positions designed to withstand artillery shelling. These reports reached Berlin by late 1944, confirming what Western Front veterans already knew. American automatic weapons doctrine transformed infantry combat. Industrial production enabled the mass manufacture of Thompsons. Throughout World War II, approximately 1.7 million units were produced. In 1942 alone, production peaked at around 500,000 units. Cost reductions over the years significantly lowered prices from $200 per unit in 1921 to just $45 by February 1944 for the M1A1 variant. This was largely due to simplified design elements and mass production techniques that reduced the number of parts required. In contrast, German submachine gun production amounted to about 910,368 units total, MP38/40, while the more complex MP43/44/SDG-44 series produced nearly 42.5 million units, but at a lower cost per unit due to extensive stamping. American soldiers received extensive training with Thompsons in U.S. training camps, firing hundreds of rounds during basic training. They developed muscle memory for rapid and instinctive shooting in close combat scenarios. In contrast, German soldiers often reached combat zones barely familiar with their weapons after minimal training, which created a significant proficiency gap. Despite tactical adaptations by German military doctrine to counter the Thompson's impact, material constraints made it difficult for them to match American firepower. Late-war German units filled with inexperienced recruits and outdated equipment could not compete even when they understood the tactics required to do so. Post-war interviews and memoirs from German veterans consistently highlighted the psychological impact of the Thompson. They described its fire as a wall of lead or steel rain, creating both physical and mental barriers. The Thompson's distinctive sound became emblematic of American industrial might, contrasting starkly with German propaganda attempts to downplay its significance. As Allied forces advanced into Germany in 1945, Thompson-armed units spearheaded assaults on key cities like Cologne, Nuremberg, and Munich. Facing these troops were often disorganized Volkssturm units armed with captured weapons or antique rifles. The disparity was stark, reflecting the material superiority of American industrial capacity. This dominance extended beyond World War II. When West Germany reformed its military in 1955 as part of NATO standardization efforts, it initially used U.S.-supplied Thompsons before transitioning to standardized equipment. This acknowledged the effectiveness of automatic weapons at the squad level, a concept that had revolutionized warfare when first encountered during WWII. The impact of the Thompson extended globally, influencing weapon design and tactical doctrines worldwide. The Soviet AK-47 assault rifle partly evolved in response to American tactics involving distributed automatic firepower. The concept of every soldier carrying an automatic weapon, revolutionary when faced by Germans in 1943, became standard military doctrine. Beyond its tactical effectiveness, the Thompson symbolized broader lessons about industrial warfare and logistical superiority that German soldiers learned from first encounters in North Africa to final battles in Germany. Each burst of .45 caliber fire served as a reminder of the stark contrast between warrior spirit and material abundance, a lesson profoundly etched into their memories for decades. In essence, the Thompson submachine gun represented more than just a weapon. It was an embodiment of American industrial might and strategic thinking, delivered with relentless efficiency and overwhelming force. This shock to German soldiers transcended tactical realities, transforming perceptions of modern warfare and its decisive factors. The distinctive sound of the Thompson would remain a haunting reminder for generations, marking the moment when they faced the full weight of America's arsenal of democracy on the battlefield.